on today's episode, we are going to be making a meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and a super quick brown gravy to go with that. I'm going to be making this dish a little bit lighter by using ground turkey instead of regular ground beef or pork, whatever the traditional meatloaf recipes call for. This particular meatloaf recipe, there's 4 ingredients. That's right, just 4. It's ground turkey or whichever meat you prefer to use, 1 egg, 1 box of stovetop, and 1 cup of milk, and that's it. All you have to do is mix all of the ingredients together, put it in a pan, and put it in the oven for about 45 minutes at 350. So let's get mixing. Mixing. So you can make fun of me if you want, but I do not like raw meat underneath my nails, so I am using a glove. You could choose to use one or not. It's up to you. It's your fingernails. So I'm first going to add to our bowl here our stovetop. This is a traditional sage flavor, and if you know anything about seasonings, sage and turkey goes really good together, so I thought this would be a really good combination. So I'm putting my stovetop in here, and then I have my 1 cup of milk. If you don't have milk or you don't drink milk or dairy affects you, you can for sure use water in this. I just thought the milk would be a little bit more tenderizing for the beef. The turkey! It's turkey! We're using turkey today. 1 egg. I prefer to crack it on a board and then put it into your bowl, just in case there's any shells, and then we're going to add our meat. You want a nice tender meatloaf. What I do for that is use just 4 fingers, and you kind of scoop and turn and scoop and turn. And you can use your less dominant hand if you'd like. I already put my glove on my right hand, and I am a righty, so let's get mixing on this. You just want to ensure that all of the little bits of stuffing are incorporated and the meat is evenly mixed through. And I'm going to switch over to our loaf pan. This particular pan, it's a Rachel Ray pan. I love it. It's really good for when I make, see how high the sides are, pretty deep. But it's also really sturdy, so I love to make banana nut bread in this. But it also comes with an insert, and you can see the little holes here. And what that is for is it just sits in here, and then you put your meatloaf in it, and then whatever the fat you have in there, it drips down to the bottom. And whatever drippings that we have, we're gonna go ahead and use in our gravy. So I think this is a cool thing. If you don't have it, it's fine. You can just use a regular loaf pan. It's not a big deal. Go ahead and put our mixture in here. And then you're going to form it into a loaf. Now, sometimes I really like putting ketchup on the top of my meatloaf. Sometimes I do barbecue sauce. Today, I'm not really feeling that, so I'm just going to leave it naked. And we're going to let that sage, the flavor of the sage and the turkey come out. So I'm just going to go ahead and get all of our sides in here. Take this glove off. I have clean hands. And I'm going to go ahead and, again, we're going to bake this for about 45 minutes at 350. Okay, now that we have our turkey meatloaf in the oven, I'm going to go ahead and move over to our mashed potatoes. So I made, to make this video a little easier on me when I'm editing it, I pre-chopped some of these potatoes. And I would say these are probably an inch-ish all around, the diameter on these. So that's about how you want to cut your chunks. The smaller the dice, the faster they cook. So if you have big old chunks, it's going to take a little while. I'd like to make this meal within 45 minutes to 50 minutes. So got the meatloaf in, gonna work on these. They'll boil for about 20 minutes until they're tender, and then we'll move on to the next step. So I have a cold pot of water here, and why we're putting it in cold water instead of boiling water, you ask? Well, that's a great question. We're doing that because what happens is if we put this into boiling water, some of the pieces are on the edge, and on the bottom they're going to cook faster than the ones in the middle. So if you put the potatoes in cold water and then you bring it up to a boil, they all cook at the same temperature, which is more even heating. And we'll go ahead and get these in here without making a royal mess. Let's see. Okay, it's minimal, we're good. All right, and I am going to get some salt in here. Don't be stingy. Potatoes love salt. And this is in a lot of water. So go ahead and salt that up. And then we're gonna go ahead and bring these to a boil. And we will boil these for about 20 minutes, and then we will come back and check on them. We're gonna go ahead, I'm heating this up for our gravy. I am going to go ahead and check our potatoes. I'm just gonna grab a knife, and let's see, these look done. I'm just looking for the biggest cube I can find. This one looks pretty good. And all we're gonna do is slip our knife in the middle of it, and if it goes in with ease, then it's done. If there's a little bit of resistance, then you might want to leave them in a little bit more, but these are good to go. So I'm gonna turn this off, and I'm gonna take this and strain it while this is heating up, and we'll go ahead and make our gravy. We just pulled the meatloaf out. I'm gonna let that sit just for a second and see if we have any drippings in that. In this pot here, I'm gonna go ahead and add my butter. I'll put this on medium heat and get it going here. Okay, well this is melting. I'm gonna go ahead and add our onion and garlic powder. The onion powder, I'm gonna put a 1.5 teaspoons. And 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, pinch of salt, pinch of salt, couple pinches, and a couple of cracks of fresh cracked black pepper. And get that whisked around. Now traditionally, well, not traditionally, some people thicken their gravies with flour, right? So they would add their butter. At this point, they would sprinkle a little flour over it, cook that out. Essentially, they're making a roux, and that's what's gonna thicken their gravy. I wanted to try, I'm not a gravy person, but I wanted to try this recipe because you should have gravy with your mashed potatoes and meatloaf. So I wanted to give this recipe a try, and I think it's gonna come out pretty good. So we got that incorporated. I'm gonna go ahead and add my stock. So we're waiting for this to come up to a boil. The stock I used on this was just the concentrated better than bouillon. You take a good teaspoon or however much you need and put it into some boiling water, and it's as simple as that. You don't have to have all these big boxes of stock and all that laying around. So that's what I have here in the pot. To thicken this, I went ahead and put some water in here, and I have cornstarch. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch to this. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a mix so it's well incorporated. Now you might think, oh crap, it's a ball of hard cornstarch at the bottom of my bowl. Just keep mixing, it will eventually incorporate. Would you boil already? Oh, like a boil. Okay guys, we have this coming up to a boil, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn it down to a simmer. And I'm gonna whisk this. And while I whisk, I'm also adding my cornstarch mixture. Okay, see how instantaneously that got thick? So we're gonna go ahead and mix it around, make sure we got everything incorporated. I'm gonna let this simmer for 1 to 2 minutes. Actually, I'm gonna grab a spoon and we're gonna taste that. A little culinary term. If you coat the back of your spoon with any kind of gravy or sauce and you drag your finger through it and it doesn't droop down, that is called nappe. And that's the consistency that we're looking for. That is perfect. Perfect. I'm gonna let this go for a little minute. Turn the heat off, and then we'll just let this sit on the back burner while we go ahead and make our mashed potatoes. I just pulled the meatloaf out of the oven. I checked it with my thermometer here. Put it in there. You want to stick it in the middle and make sure it comes to at least 165. That is the key number when you're cooking poultry. You want to bring it up to temp to 165 at least. Not so much over, you'll leave jibbing. So let's get back to our mashed potatoes. These are cooked. I'm gonna go ahead and add, now there's people who add just a little bit of salt and pepper to their mashed potatoes. I like a little bit of indulgent mashed potatoes, so I am going to add half a stick of butter. I'm gonna put a little half and half in here. Let's say that's probably about a half a cup that was left in here. Go ahead and use some of this whipped cream cheese in here. Normally I would just put like a half of a brick of cream cheese in it, but I thought since I have this and I don't have any more bagels, I'm just gonna use this. Why not? It's the same thing, it's just in a whipped form. So I'm gonna use a heaping tablespoon. Put that in there. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and use our beater and mix these up. And we'll check the consistency and see where it goes. Okay. I am going to check our consistency here. I'm just going to use our spoon. I forgot to mention also, when you're cooking your potatoes, I'm using an old, this is actually my mom's old Magnolite pot. I don't have to be gentle with these pots. So think about that if you're wanting to do it in a pot. If you have all non-stick pots, you can go ahead and transfer your potatoes into a bowl and mix it that way if you want to do it that way. So just forgot to mention that. All I'm doing now is just looking at the consistency of these. I see a couple of big chunks in here left. So I'm gonna go ahead and continue to whip these. I'm gonna use these to taste, see if we need to add any salt. I'm for sure gonna add a little cracked black pepper.
Damn.
You heard that?
You okay?
Jesus Christ, I have tape left? I'm still there. Okay, so everything is pulled together. I think the time on this is about 50 minutes from start to finish. So I'm gonna go ahead and plate this now. I got our meatloaf out onto this cutting board, and I'm just gonna make decent size slices on here. And we'll go ahead and plate it. Oh, look how pretty that is on the inside. Good steam. That's so pretty! Okay, and I'm going to put a dollop of mashed potatoes on here. And then I'm going to spoon over my gravy. Like I said, I'm not a huge gravy person. This tastes amazing. But if you wanted it a little bit thicker than what I have here, just go ahead and boil it a little bit longer. I like this consistency. I'm gonna go ahead and make a little divot here on the mashed potatoes. So pretty. And I'm also going to put some over my meatloaf. And there we go. Here is our super simple mashed potatoes, meatloaf, and gravy. Enjoy. Tooth left.
That's me. You.
I still feel that.
You.
I didn't have any depth perception there for a second.
Nope, it was. I want to taste this.
I can't wait to watch it actually.
God, the sound that came from that.
That was my tooth, man.
I know.